going live in 3, 2, 1. All right. What is going on, guys? It is Adam A.K. Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. Today, we have a ton to go over, and remember, this is a lot of information, so if you want to go see the sources for all of this, you have a full bibliography over on marfooglenews.com. All you have to do is look for today's thumbnail, Urgent Big Moves Made in China, and events seem imminent. Of course, the title of this, of course, China sends monster ship to Philippines. Just look for that, and you will find a full bibliography of all of the sources. So make sure to utilize that. You also have a lot of other resources on that, including a search bar that is archived of all the news over the past 6 years. So, again, lots of crazy stuff going on right now. Let's get into it. First of all, there was a lot of rumors. There's a deadline coming up for TikTok, which essentially says that if it's not bought by an American company, that it's going to be banned. Now, many of you probably don't care about this, but I absolutely know there's a bunch of you that are totally on TikTok. Heck, Bones, the last person you'd expect, is actually one of our mods and a trucker. He's actually growing really big on TikTok. So again, there's a lot of you that it's your secret pleasure, right? But as far as there's also a lot of you that absolutely hate the thing, will not even have it touch your phone, have heard the rumors of it essentially looking into everything, even keystroke monitoring, so that basically if you're typing in a password somewhere else on your phone, in their essentially in their agreements, you say, oh yeah, sure, you can look at that. So a lot of people do not have it on their phone, including myself. As far as TikTok, a lot of people are mad that it's going to go. But the Don has actually kind of changed his tune all of a sudden. I heard him just a few weeks ago saying, you know, about TikTok, I've got a soft spot in my heart for TikTok because I guess somebody told me that actually helped me win. And I'm like thinking, so honestly, I think that TikTok is some sort of weapon. ByteDance made an algorithm that is literally some sort of control thing. But again, that's just my opinion. And of course, if this deadline goes without somebody purchasing it, it's going to be goners. But now, a Monday report in Bloomberg that Chinese-owned TikTok is considering selling to Elon Musk is pure fiction. A rep for the social media platform told The Wrap. TikTok is facing a ban in the U.S. unless it's sold to a U.S.-owned company. Parent company ByteDance is appealing to the U.S. Supreme Court not to follow through with the ban. The app, which is used by 170 million Americans, is set to be removed from the U.S. by January 19th, a day before INAUG. It says a rep for the popular app, if the Supreme Court does not overturn its ban by then, TikTok will shut down rather than make a last-minute deal to keep it active in the U.S. At least as I understand it, we go dark, TikTok attorney Noel Francisco said. On Friday, essentially the platform shuts down. TikTok previously stated in court filings in December that it planned to completely exit the U.S. if its ban was not canceled at the last minute. So this is something that a lot of people really don't care about, but there are things going on behind closed doors right now that are a huge deal. And mind you, China is not happy about this. This is something that is billions of dollars involved. And of course, right now at the same time, we just did a video on news on how DJI, a Chinese-owned and connected company, just opened up all of the drones, every single DJI, to be able to fly anywhere in the country. You know, those same drones that are being used in conflicts and that any average Joe can get parts off an internet and make something absolutely terrifying. So is this on purpose? Is it them? Is it three-letter agencies? Who knows? But we're going to get into it right here. Tonight, you don't want to miss the show. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, let's get into it. So, another side note, thank you so much for everybody that has made it in so far. We have, of course, great people down there. We've got Minnie. We've got Bobby Sue, Tracy Q. Hey, what's going on? Brian Knight. Hey, nice to see you. Brian Knight, if you guys don't know, has been here for a very long time. Brian Knight's one of my oldest subscribers, probably in the first 100, I would bet. Fermi Paradox, J-Pass, Carol, Randy K, True Technique, Smokin' Swamp Outdoors. We've got Dr. J-Man Swisky, Robert, Paula, Carol, of course, or Carell. Sorry if I messed that one up. And Hidden Identity, what's happening? Mark Schaefer and Gemcat. Nice to see you guys. Hey, thank you for all the awesome hellos. And then Texas, Redding, California, lots of people. We'll do a roll call later on. And by the way, by the end of this show, I hope that people are going to really take this week in particular serious. We'll go back, a month in the future. Let's look back at this episode and see what the heck it looks like, because there is a lot of crazy stuff going on as far as predictions of the next week. Lots of events and moving parts. All right. And let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Fugel fam. I'm doing just fine. And regarding this potential TikTok sale to Elon, I mean, look, this was reported by Bloomberg. This was reported by Wall Street Journal that these conversations were happening. They said it was happening because last week the Supreme Court had indicated that they were going to uphold the law and they weren't going to side with TikTok on this. So they basically were going to go dark when it comes out on whenever they release their position on it. So the question was, are they possibly doing this to find a way to gain any monetary value out of it, or do they look at someone like Elon as a potential suitor that would give them favor because he has so much interest in China, and I wouldn't call it control, but it could be considered control by some. So for one hand, the lawyer says, oh no, that's not happening. That's just fiction. But on the other hand, there's a lot of rumors saying that it might actually go through. And by the way, Elon purchasing that would give him a social network that has more influence and more users than the one he has now.
And not to mention, he already works closely with China because his second largest manufacturing company, Tesla, or the factories are in China. So he's been working very closely with China as far as that goes. As far as, there are so many, dividing points as far as Elon goes now. When we started covering him, when I started the show 6-7 years ago, nobody really, people talked about Elon because he was one of the rich guys, but not like today. In the last 3 or 4 years, the purchasing of Twitter, all of these things, he is now either somebody that people hate or love, or somebody that people like and then hate the things he does, or vice versa. It's really quite nuts. But one thing is for sure, he does have businesses in China. So, something like this, he could have some connections there and actually be talking to these guys. Dex, go ahead.
Well, I have a sneaking suspicion if something like this were to actually go through, they wouldn't give them the full algorithm, the one that they've been using to program America with.
The fire hose.
Yeah, well, they'll give them all the data. They'll give them all the video content and all the stuff that's there and all the users and whatnot. But I don't think they'll give them what they've been doing to, change and warp the minds of our youth.
The weapon.
But the weapon, so to speak. But the interesting thing is, what would he do with the same power and have that much influence over such a younger, larger audience in America. And would that, what would that do to the people that are opposed Elon? They would probably lose their mind if he owned that.
Yeah, and as far as Elon owning TikTok, I mean, if you own something like that, obviously everybody should know. I know that a lot of people that are actually on that app, in my personal side opinion, there's a lot of people that don't realize that they're being manipulated. We've actually talked about this, that TikTok actually has these crazy algorithms that even if you have a husband and a wife in the same living room watching the same movie or the same video, that not only does it cater the actual videos you see, it actually caters how you see the responses to it. So the comments, so say from a woman's point of view, and it's a woman complaining that her boyfriend's, away at work too long, it will show that woman basically things that agree with the women that support it. It will show the man something like, well, why don't you, do some chores or something like that. These were the examples that were given. It essentially catered all of these responses and made it appear to the man that everyone agreed with him. And it appeared to the woman that everybody appeared to her. Not just the ones she would like to see, that actually agree with their viewpoints. So they have profiles on all of us, and ByteDance is part of that. ByteDance is not separate like some company that just did an app and they started making so much money that the Chinese government's like, hey, you got to give us a cut. They are part of it. That is my opinion, at least. Again, so I don't get in any trouble. But I believe that they are directly a part of it. And if you've done any research at all at ByteDance and the algorithm they created, many of us consider it a weapon. It is something that people can't even grasp or wrap their head around, is the fact that these kinds of things can actually manipulate real-world events. And that reminds me of the stuff we were just talking about. I did want to bring this up. This was the story I was talking about a few months ago. And if you go back to that show, there were some pretty interesting things said. And I just realized this. That show, we talked about this. A man was arrested and charged with attempting to use a weapon of, get this, mass destruction and to destroy an energy facility in Nashville. If you watch my show a lot, then you probably already know about this. But again, this was a gentleman who went through the feds, and they helped him build it, procure it, run it, test drive it, and then arrested him. And they were like, hey, this guy was trying to take out the grid. That seemed very suspicious. And of course, since it was attached to the three-letter agencies or the federal ones, right, that it was kind of suspicious. But now fast forward, there's all of these other events going on, like what we just covered over on news, that DJI just opened up the entire DJI network. Millions of drones around the country can now fly anywhere, over the White House, over military bases, over airports, over anything. That is absolutely wild. Now, you will get in trouble for doing those. Just want to warn you, if you have a drone, I wouldn't try it, and I would not fly over a military base, especially right now, or the White House, but it is apparently possible. They essentially took away the no-fly zones. This is extremely suspicious, and I almost see like a picture being painted of people here, United States people, doing this, and either they are people that were kind of pushed into it. I don't know if you've seen the secret recording of this guy from CIA essentially talking about how they would nudge people, that they do manipulate people, and that they wouldn't brainwash them per se, but they would basically nudge them and do the right things to nudge them in the direction of doing something bad, right? That's how they get their patsies or whatever. And I think, man, think about this. Now they just told everybody there's no fly zone and anybody can do anything to their drones and you can fly anywhere. Wow, that's not a setup for something bad to happen. I don't know what is. And then the other articles came out in the same 48 hours. You've got, of course, a gentleman, a Russian mercenary, being caught with $4,000, fake IDs, fake passports, and a drone, right? Explosives found in a building in a high-rise that has fake IDs, fake police stuff, fake fireman stuff, and C4 explosives. This is on top of all of the other crazy stuff going on, the drones flying above the country, everything else, the New Jersey stuff, the nuclear spikes or the radioactive spikes above New York, possibly Chicago. all of this is happening. Sarah Adams saying that there will be national attacks from Qaeda/Al in 2025, not only here, but in Europe. And now we're 6 days away from Inog, the same guy that was almost taken out twice, both times very suspiciously. So buckle up, as Jacob Israel would say, because it is about to be a wild ride. Yeah, it's so insane. And then Philippines alarmed after China sends monster ship to disputed shoal. Dex, do you want to go over this?
Certainly, the Philippines accuses China on Tuesday of intimidating its fishermen in a disputed South China Sea shoal and normalizing the illegal presence after Beijing sent its largest Coast Guard vessel into the maritime zone. This move comes on the backdrop of the rising tensions there, which we've been talking about quite a bit here. I say, got to pay attention to what goes on in the Philippines and especially North Korea as it relates to Taiwan, because those two areas will make it obvious distractions for the U.S. And split our forces north and south, leaving Taiwan wide open. But the Philippines has protested this month against the entry of the Chinese vessel in its 200 nautical mile exclusive zone, including a 541-foot long ship, 5901, last spotted 77 nautical miles off the western province of Zambales. So, again, this is one of the larger ships that the Coast Guard from China has brought in. They usually are using smaller ships. This is a very large ship that's come in, intimidating, so to speak. We don't see any necessarily violence yet coming from it, or any aggressive actions like shooting fire hoses or lasers, but or throwing tomahawks as they've done before on some of the smaller boats. But we got to watch. We got to see what happens, because each one of these things is a greater level of escalation. Right? It's like, what do they do next? What is the next thing they're going to do?
And to many people, I mean, you have so many people that really couldn't point to any of these places on a map. They really don't care about the Philippines or what's going on in the South China Sea. But if you do follow all of this stuff, this is incredibly important. China has already claimed parts of the Philippines, their claim to the sea, essentially to the agreed upon amount of miles that each country has of their sea or their coastline and how far it goes out. China's stomped on Vietnam, Philippines, and I'm forgetting the third country, of course, Taiwan. But yeah, I mean, it's like this is all big moves, all in the same time period. And they a lot of things that seem unconnected, but if you just really follow this very closely, you'll see that it seems obvious. To regular people, though, they're not seeing what we see. They just don't follow all of these events closely enough to actually see it. But if you do, anybody that reads the news every day could see what's about to happen. Because the longer you do, you see what actually ends up happening after the predictions, and that you see how the patterns kind of form. There's a huge pattern right now, and we're 6 days away from a very potential crazy event. So I'm very much hopeful that does not happen. But yeah, watch they take Taiwan on the 19th or something. I mean, it's just nuts. And then North Korea fires multiple missiles as Japanese foreign minister visits Seoul. So as he is in South Korea, the Japanese foreign minister, which this is like history repeating itself, North Korea is actually test firing all of these missiles. They did short-range ballistic missiles towards its east coast on Tuesday, the South Korean military said, escalating tensions in the region a week before the Dawn's return to the White House. The missiles were launched about 9:30 a.m. local time in Gyeonggi in the Jegang province and flew about 250 kilometers before splashing down into the East Sea. It says it was Pyongyang's second missile test this year after leader Kim Jong-un oversaw the firing of intermediate range ballistic missile on January 6th that struck a target around 1,100 kilometers away, which is crazy. I forgot that happened on the 6th. We strongly condemned the launch as a clear provocation that seriously threatens the peace and stability of the Korean Peninsula, Joint Chiefs of South Korea said. It warned the North against misjudging the situation and vowed to overwhelmingly respond to any additional provocation. Now, remember, South Korea is currently in this crazy situation where the president actually declared a martial law for less than 12 hours before the rest of his government or the lawmakers voted against it and undid it. Now they are trying to impeach him. They even have his cronies blocking people out. Dex, and by the way, we haven't updated that.
I just looked because I was curious. 46 minutes ago, it's been reported he has now been
No
detained.
Way. No.
Yeah, so this just happened.
Way.
So guys, the South Korean president Yoon Suk-yeol was detained in a massive law enforcement operation at the presidential compound Wednesday. Wednesday being there today because they're ahead of the timeline, so it's Wednesday there. Defiantly assisting the anti-corruption agency, didn't have the authority to investigate his actions. In a video message recorded before he was escorted to the headquarters of the anti-corruption agency, Yoon lamented the rule of law has completely collapsed in this country. So he is now being hauled off.
This is South Korea. This is not North Korea. This is a major ally, a place where we not only regularly take our nuclear subs through, but we have partnered up with multiple times, including in wars that South Korea, that the U.S. and others joined against Russia and North Korea. Currently, you have North Korean soldiers literally fighting in Ukraine and in other places fighting with Russia. This is the setup for a world war. And I have said since day one of this thing with the whole president of South Korea, there is some massive thing going on. And I think that that's why he declared martial in the first place. And something is going on. And by the way, he was saying that these people that were sympathetic to the North Korea's way of life or something like that, that they were trying to impeach his staff. So something was going on along those lines. It sounds like somebody from outside the country is pulling strings and they are trying to do another regime change or power change in this place in South Korea. Dex, that's massive. I was just thinking about it because I was like, we haven't covered an update on that.
This is akin to Hong Kong. This is akin to other things because the people that are supporting Yoon are saying, hey, China is doing this. These are people that are influenced by or controlled by China, sympathetic to North Korea, and are trying to subvert the government through those officials. Now, those officials will say, well, we're the officials that have been placed here through the process of the democracy. So he's the crazy one by trying to say the things he's saying, and we're here for the people. So it's a really interesting and a very difficult. It just depends on which side of the aisle you're on here, on what you believe or don't believe. But if this is going down the way it looks, like if you support Yoon and you think that they're infiltrating, then they may be getting even closer to having a better position with taking Taiwan, especially if they erode, the support that South Korea has had with the West by taking Yoon out and putting other people in power that maybe have better ties to North and better ties to China.
Mark my words, something massive is coming. And this, as far as this goes, this, since day one, I knew was going to be a big thing. He had his loyal government and his loyal police and military outside protecting him, hundreds. So whatever they just did, something massive is going on. This will affect us. This is part of it. And Dex, I have said for the longest time, my personal belief, and it's been a roller coaster of different things going on in the world where the media makes North Korea look like this or like that. This entire time I've said North Korea is going to be the thing that starts it, that it's going to be the trigger that starts the bigger weapon, right? That pulls the trigger for the bigger weapon. And look at what's happening in the South. If China is truly putting somebody in, if he is correct and that this is Chinese supported people that are trying to change things around. This is a play right out of the U.S.'s playbook. That's crazy to say, but China's doing it. China is making huge moves. So this is breaking
regime
news.
Change. If you're a power player in the world, like the U.S. has been, regime change is what you go for. Russia does it.
Hundreds
US
of
does
times.
it. China is going to do it and has been doing it. And no doubt in my mind that it's possible that they're playing a big role here.
This is massive. I bet here's another thing. So the fires are all over the place. We have very little updates on the fire. And it is because I think people are going to wise up, and it's a horrible event. And we still have people in California. I know some of you are in California, and your friends and family, including my family, have lost everything. But at this point, there are things and huge moves happening in the background. Did you notice that they really haven't covered South Korean president? The South Korean president, one of our major allies, nobody has really talked about the fact that they are trying to take the damn president out. That's like, what if the Don, just like in Civil War, the movie, the Don was holed up in the White House and he had police out there and they were trying to go in and grab him? That's exactly what just happened. This is absolutely insane. By the way, thank you, Jonathan Fish. I appreciate that. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate you supporting Independent. Thank you, everybody that is making it to these shows, especially the last week. We've had just an incredible turnout. I thank everybody that maybe has been here for a long time, but that has come back and has been watching every show, because now is the time to do it. Let's see here. Paula, thank you so much. Cassandra Goss, thank you. Jennifer Chamberlain, it's Vlad Didad. Let's see here. Peter Dragons, thank you. Live free or die free. Great name. Kevin Oculus, what is going on? Lysa Forge, Mimi, Jen B, and so many other new names. Heather Hanks Hill, thank you so much. Beans and Frank, thank you guys for being here, and please share this out with everybody. Angela Fern from Seattle, let's hear where you're from. Let's see here. We've got Virginia in the house. Copper Moon representing. We've got Tracy Q, Lori Dawn, Carlton Sutton. Nice to see you. Randy K, Bobby Sue. New Zealand in the house. Elizabeth, thank you. Thank you. Let's see. And Elizabeth, drop in chat. What do you guys say? Like your slang for what's up. Donovan Elliott. Yep, Canada here too. Or the U.S. at some point, according to mainstream media. Crazy, scary stuff, right? Diane Whitlock, CR user. We've got Rob Mills. What is happening? We've got so many great people. Canada representing again. Denver, Vancouver, Oregon. We've got Chicago, Bellingham. Nice to see you guys. Let's see here. So many awesome people here. Thank you guys. Jonathan Floming and so many more. Tracy Q, thank you, and thank you for making it. All right, and then before we move on, make sure to go check out Jase. This is our recommendation. If you don't have food and water, I would get those first. But next down that list, food, water, and then medicine. Medicine is going to be incredibly important, especially if you're looking at today's news, especially. Look at what's happening. They are setting up for a conflict with China. That's my opinion, and I'm going to stick to it. China controls 97% of the APIs, active pharmaceutical ingredients, in antibiotics. That is absolutely startling. And everyone here should know that. You probably already know this. But China is making a ton of things that the U.S. is dependent on. Things that we absolutely should make here, but we don't. So if anything does happen, if something goes down, if you can't go to a hospital, which we take for granted, if you can't go to a pharmacy, which we take for granted, then you definitely want to have this on hand. But it doesn't have to be a massive grid down event for these to come in handy. This is, again, a Jase case. It has a kit of all of the most commonly prescribed antibiotics in a handy case that you can actually add things on. You're talking to a board-certified doctor. It is a telehealth appointment from the comfort of your couch, and you can get a kit with add-ons like albuterol, fluconazole, and other things. So again, that is right there at your fingertips. In an emergency, you have all of it. If somebody in your family gets hurt or somebody gets a massive cut and you can't go to the hospital, something like that, again, that's where this comes in handy. There is also something called Jase Daily. Highly recommend this for caregivers. If you have a family member that you have, they're dependent on something, dependent on a medicine that they have to have, make sure to go check that out. You can get a 12-month extended supply of your prescription meds. You're going to get an actual doctor to write it off, sent right to your door. marfugglenews.com/Jase. You are supporting not only our channel, but you're supporting independent news, and you're getting a huge discount at the same time. So make sure to go check it out, marfugglenews.com/Jase. And keep in mind, you can also get things that are actually were extremely hard to get during 2019 through 2024. things that they made fun of Joe Rogan for taking. So again, go check it out, marfugglenews.com/Jase, and make sure to use the code MARV. All right, and then Dex, let's go over the Ukrainian drones. Flew 400 miles to double tap a Russian bomber base.
Okay, so here we go again. This is the second time we have seen Ukraine bomb the nuclear, facility there, so to speak. This is, so about a week ago we reported it. They bombed the fueling center that was used specifically for the strategic air command, or the strategic, the nuclear bombers, the planes that fly and carry nukes on them. That was wiped out, and it caused over a week-long fire. Well, now as they've started to get the fire out and they were ready, I guess, to start fixing things, what did they do? They came in and hit it again. So just today, they flew over 400 miles, and they struck the exact same base. This is, again, a specific, Russian nuke base that's been hit now twice within a week and a half, or within 6 days. So big deal when you think about the effect. And this, look, this is not like rah, rah, rah UKR, or even rah, rah, rah Russia. But when you think about the fact that Russia looks at everything that Ukraine does as being driven by the West, even though this may have been done with a drone and not, a ATACMS or a Storm Shadow from the UK, they still believe that all of this is happening because the West is supplying them. The West is, supporting and funding it. So when you look at these strategic hits, when you think about taking out the early warning radar systems that they've done, which is part of their strategics, that when they've attacked these different air bases that have their nuclear capable planes on them, all of those are very important, and they definitely cross the red lines that Putin says would be easy for them to retaliate with tactical nukes. So on one hand, you never see him do it, even though he says he can and he would. But on the other hand, you have to look at the fact that why are they continuously targeting all of these super strategic areas that are specific to their nuclear defense or nuclear offense?
Well, it's pretty clear somebody is pulling strings. There's a lot of puppets in place right now. They're trying to push the button on the big WW3 button. That's my opinion. Again, I think there's a lot of that happening across the planet. You can see everything setting up to it. You've been seeing this for years. And what's crazy is that I think there was a lot of pushback over the last 6-7 years. I think that there were good people in good positions, but after time, day after day, it's like you saw one fall after the next, or they got paid off, or they got a check, or, most of which we won't see. They're probably going to Swiss bank accounts, or, an account in the Cayman Islands. I think that most of the politicians everywhere have now been paid off. And I mean everywhere. Like every country that is part of certain international groups, I think that almost all of them are, I mean, that sounds crazy, but paid off in some way. Lord, I don't know what happened. It's like me coming in, if somebody, you walk into a bar and everybody's bleeding out of their nose and saying, F this and F that. I don't know what happened. So again, Lord, I hope everything gets better. Watching and waiting. Thank you. I appreciate that. Jonathan Fish, again, thank you. Watching and waiting. Thank you for the super as well. Yeah. And I would love to know, on a side note, email me, Lord McCormick. Love to hear from you. Either way, no matter what happens, I'll pray for that side note you just left there, which you don't want me to read. All right. And then let's see here. All right. And we have Russia and Iran sign a partnership treaty this week. Now, Dex, it was when I saw this, I almost thought, like, I was thinking they already did, but it was Russia and North Korea, and then North Korea and Iran. And it was like every little interconnection here, they're making it official. And we've covered all of the other ones. I thought we already covered this.
Yeah, we've We have covered this. They've talked about it.
Yeah.
They've talked about, it's coming. They've talked about the plan. They've talked, they've announced it numerous times. But I guess now is the official signing it. Like, let's get it the pen on paper, and that's what they're saying is the treaty is to be signed this week, if it hasn't already. I guess we should just consider it signed at this point because it's happening now. But, they've obviously expanding their cooperation between the two countries involving trade, investment, humanitarian. What it really comes down to, that I think that's important to everyone, is what does it mean militarily? And we already know that we've seen Iran supply Russia with drones. We've seen Iran advance its nuclear capabilities, and we know that a lot of that is probably coming from Russia, more than likely, since we saw how it so easily was given to North Korea over the years. So I would expect that we would see more of that, and you would see this agreement would help get around any sanction issues that both countries may have so they can better trade. But more importantly, I think they're looking at a military standpoint and supporting one another militarily.
And we still don't know the full deal with what is actually getting traded back and forth, but there's a constant story coming out about this advancement or that advancement of countries that don't normally have these things. So everyone is, of course, putting two and two together, saying, well, they're working with this. This is probably Russian-made. This is Iranian-made. This is North Korean-made. All of this is happening all at the same time. The former agreement, I remember that we said the exact same thing. They talked about the agreement back in before June, probably March, April, May, something like that. And then it was crazy when they officially put it on paper. It was like nobody covered it. Putin signed this official treaty with North Korea. And guess what happened after they did that? Do you remember what happened after they signed that official agreement with North Korea? North Korea joined the war in Russia. So what is going to happen after Iran signs this? Are we going to see Iranians in the Russian conflict? All of us have been telling our friends and family members about a World War scenario for a very long time. And people always say the same, 10 lines, or they've been, manipulated by medias into being scared when they want them scared, but then to pull them back when they don't want them. Everybody here should be on like a steady line. Everybody should not be crazy scared when they're trying to freak you out on the news, and you shouldn't be calm when they're telling you everything is okay, because it's never all okay. You should be on a steady line trying to prep and get to, point B, and point B is past whatever event happens in the future. Dex, go ahead.
You made the point I was going to make. Like, what are we going to see next week? IRG is in Ukraine, right next to North Korean. And, is that the first, offering from the military strategic alliance? Because then as soon as Israel attacks Iran, does that mean Russia will line up next to Iran and fight back, just like South Korea and North Korea? Will Russia, bring in the troops into North Korea to help North Korea? I mean, they certainly did back in the 50s. If it wasn't for that, North Korea was pretty much defeated until Russia Soviet Union came in and pushed everybody back down.
And of course, and then you have Syria. Syria was, of course, allied with Iran and others, and now Syria was taken over. They're saying that was, of course, put together by Turkey or whatever. But, everybody's forgetting to mention the millions and millions of dollars that right before it happened, this 11-day takeover, millions and millions, hundreds of millions got sent to UKR. And UKR just happened to be sending equipment and things to the HTS group to take over Syria, on top of many, many, some say hundreds of strikes from both Israel and the U.S. in Syria. What's crazy is that more people didn't put that together like day one, minute one. But if you're watching this, you most likely get it. And I don't have to preach to the choir. And you see what's about to happen, right? I don't think it's going to be 2027. I think this is the year. And unfortunately, I've always told people that, hey, you have time. Do a little bit at a time. I don't think you should sell your house and dig a hole in your backyard. But if you have the actual funds to do so, I don't think it would hurt. If you had the funds to do a bunker and to buy a pallet of food, that would be great. But almost all of us don't, because, of course, the prices of milk are frickin' $9 a half gallon. Yeah, you can't do that. But what you can do is you can prep a little bit at a time. And that's what people should be doing. Should be getting water, food, and medicine right now before anything else. And then a week after the LA firestorms began, the threat continues as the unprecedented loss sink in. I was just saying last night, unprecedented is going to be used for the next 2 weeks. Because it is. I mean, it's a very good description. But as far as LA, the fires continue. And it is absolutely crazy that some of these fires after 4, 5, 6 days were not contained. It really shows you just this totally hit them at the wrong time, the right everything had to happen for this to be such a absolute super massive disaster. And that's exactly what's happened. Again, with the fires, many of you probably know somebody that are affected by this. This is now a week after flames were levied. Huge swaths of Pacific Palisades and Altadena, Southern California, remained under severe fire threat as residents still struggled to comprehend the scale of the loss. An army of firefighters spent Tuesday putting out small fires before they got out of control and continued building containment lines on the Palisades and Eaton fires in hope of preventing them from spreading. Now, this just reminded me, the police and fire are both right in the middle, in the thick of this. Dex, does that make you think of what we just covered on news, where in this high-rise apartment, they found rifles, they found fake IDs, fake police gear, fake police uniforms, fake fireman uniforms, or fake fire gear? Do you think these guys could go into the fire and then steal something, I don't know, like Humvees from someplace while the fires are going on, or something like this? Like, it just seems the timing of this is crazy for all these things to be found.
Yeah, it certainly is. I think it's definitely a question worth looking into and asking, especially with all the looting that's going on, with all the alleged, arson activity that may be happening and people starting these things. But what's clear is the two big fires, the Palisades and the Eaton, are still raging. And they, as we had talked about 2 nights ago, I believe, or last night, we said that they were expecting these massive winds. It didn't happen today. It got pushed back. So it's happening tomorrow, or like 6 hours from now. They're saying starting at 3 a.m. Wednesday until about 3 p.m., they're going to have this massive windstorm again that they're expecting. And they're putting out this, dangerous fire situation, fire warning that's going into effect. So it's not stopping anytime soon.
And as far as the forecast now, I mean, are weathermen in California now going to have to censor their forecast? Because all you need now to do a serious attack on the U.S. is a wind forecast and a lighter, possibly some lighter fluid. But that's what they're making it look like with these recent arrests that we just covered over the last couple days, and now all of this. I mean, 6 days to go. Something massive. Zephania 118. Grace will end. Carlton Sutton, hey, thank you again. Thank you for the support, too. Thank you, everybody that continued to come to every single show. Carlton, I think you've been at almost every one, so thank you. What do you guys think about the fire in California's? Again, let me know down below. It's horrid. It's a tragedy. But it's also the main focus while all of this crazy stuff is going on in the background. And then iconic Rose Bowl Stadium unrecognizable as makeshift camp with families stuck in tents and RVs. So, Dex, do you want to talk about how they're all stuck?
Look, New Year's Day, there was 90,000 people there. It was the Rose Bowl. It was, the Oregon Ducks and Ohio State, who I guess won 41-21, obviously in the Rose Bowl. And now you're a week later or 14 days later, and it's like tent city. They literally have turned the Rose Bowl, all of the parking, all the area. It's nothing but tents and RVs for all the displaced people. It's a makeshift camp. And if you can go to our website and probably click through on the article and see some of the pictures they have as well. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't look, it's just like one of those scenes that's so surreal. I mean, you've seen a tent city before, usually a bunch of, people that are displaced from their homes that are, living in a tent area. But now to take, a place as massive as the Rose Bowl and turn the whole place into a tent city, that's how much this has affected, how many people it's affected, how many people they've shifted, and how quickly they've taken everything, and it's just turning into a complete disaster zone. It's like what you'd see in an apocalyptic movie.
And that's another word that the media has basically across the board has been saying. I mean, it is true. The scenes out of California are apocalyptic, and you almost need something apocalyptic to distract from massive moves in pretty much every other country, which is exactly what's happening. Cindy Orr says, SHTF situation, I'm staying home, nowhere to run, plus too old to run. Yeah, I in fact, what do you guys all think? Do a quick, just sort of off-the-cuff survey. Do you guys think you'll be bugging in if something really does go down? Now, you don't have to believe something's going down, but if something massive happens, a massive event, whether you live here, Europe, or anywhere, where would you go? Would you stay at home and lock down like a castle? Or would you get out? Would you bug out to the woods? Now a lot of people that thought they were going to bug out say, well, what's the point if they have satellites that can basically track people and track a single leaf and have AI algorithms telling them a leaf moved here, and then, they go and get you. That's the crazy thing. And then if you stay at your house, if you're in a big city, gosh, there's so much craziness going on. That could also be a disaster. Everybody's got a different opinion on that. Bug in or bug out? Paula Care bugging in. Blue Dazzlebug bugging in. Actually, more bug-ins than I thought. Bugging in for as long as we can. Lauren Paget. Pilgrim in Progress. I see so many prepper experts and things like this say that you want to bug out, but it seems like most people in our community want to stay at home and stay in their space. If you want to do that, here's my recommendation, and I'm not an expert with thousands of hours of training or anything like some of my friends. I will say this: make sure you get a neighborhood protection plan, an NPP going, and get to know your neighbors, because they are going to be your biggest enemy if something bad goes down, or they can be your biggest allies. Optical Gem. Not many places to bug out in the UK. I'm bugging in. Yeah, it's crazy. Certain places, like in Hawaii, when that false missile alert happened, it's like, where are you going to go? Let's see here. Big D says, bug in my basement. Mainframe. What is happening? Jay Malin. Jimmy Carter says, Jimmy Carter giving the Philippines back to the commies. Oh, by the way, thanks, Jimmy Carter, for giving the Philippines back to the commies. Paul Borcano, home first to cold outside. That was almost unanimous. Everybody is going to bug in. That's crazy. I'm actually surprised at that. And then let's see here. Before we move on, make sure to go check out EMP Shield. Again, many of you have heard this probably 10,000 times over. But with what's going on, I hope that people do, if they were on the fence for years now. I would recommend, again, get off that fence. If you don't go through us, go through somebody else. If you think it's about the commission from an affiliate sale like this, go ahead and get it from somebody else. But I highly recommend getting it, because I think it will save lives, and I think you will thank yourself for doing it. This is a device that can protect your cars, trucks, motorcycles, boats, everything, including generators and ham radios, and your home against not only EMP strikes, not only lightning strikes, but also a CME or a Carrington level event from the sun. Same company now has contracts with agencies like DHS, DOD, and of course that all started back in 2018 with the EMP executive order that our former and next president did, which has essentially rolled at a snail's pace for the last 4 years. So yeah, we can hope that our grid will be, all fixed up and retrofitted and made to be, withstand EMPs, but it's not right now. I think there's like one county that is protected. County, not country. So I would highly recommend getting one on your car. It takes 10 minutes. You don't need a mechanic. You don't need a neighbor. You don't need a handyman to do it. You can do it in 10 minutes. 3 wires, red to red on your battery, black to black on your battery, and green to ground or a part of your chassis, and you're done. MarfoogleNews.com/EMP. Make sure to use the code MARF. If you, again, want to use somebody else, go ahead. But I would say this. That gets you $50 off per device, and you're helping our independent show. So thank you for doing so. But mostly, please share us out with friends and family members, and it looks like you guys are doing a good job of that. 3.7 thousand people in chat. Thank you guys for making it. All right. And then we have Foogle fam Sarah. We have an actual message here. Now, if you want to leave a message, I will put the number back on the show. We actually took it down because we were having so much lagging issues. But let me put this on here. So this number actually has a voicemail line. And if you want to leave a voicemail, you're always welcome to leave one at 224400-MARF. Again, that's 224400-MARF. Give it a ring and, of course, leave us a message. If you have something crazy, if you have a tip or some sort of story, let us know. This is Foogle fam Sarah, and we're going to play her message. And again, no calls or anything like this reflect our opinions. They are of that of the caller. But again, pretty crazy stuff here as far as what's going on. So there's going to be a lot of very, very independent views. So let's see here. Let me switch over to this real quick. And booyah shakalaka. All right, let me see if I can get this playing here. There we go. And Dex, I'm trying to play this, but it's popping up folders here. Let me see if I can. Let's see. There we go. I can't access the file here, Dex. So you might have to play it on yours or through the system.
Is it the same link that I just put in up next? You want to double check the link? Is it showing a voicemail, or is it?
No,
you can't see what's on your screen.
No, you got it. Thank you. Nope. There we go. Oh, here we go. No. And by the way, Sarah, thank you again for sending this to us. We will try to get this playing here. So first of all, let's see. Nope. It will not open. You might want to. I think you can play it through yours, right? Or will that work?
Try the new link I just put in there.
Okay.
The top one.
We need one of those. We need one of those technical difficulty screens.
Yeah, we haven't.
Like our logo.
We didn't test this one first, right?
There we go. Here we go.
Hi, Marf, Adam, Dex, and family. I wanted to share my thoughts on everything happening with the drones, UFO invasion, possibly, and the deagle report. So I think all of this stuff happening with the UFOs and the drones could possibly be our government and the people running things behind the scenes, could be them preparing for an explanation for the disappearances due to the rapture. I know it's a controversial topic, but I also think that those disappearances could be in line with the deagle report and explain why majority of us and our allies lose population, and the countries who don't have religious freedom don't have much losses in their population numbers that he predicted. Just a thought. Wanted to share it with you guys and just to be on the lookout. Put your faith in Jesus and not in man, especially not He-Man, because, I just get a bad feeling from him. So but I wanted to share that and hope you guys take that into, put it into your considerations. Thanks. I'm an avid replay watcher because I've been behind on the lives, but I am in the background and I'm watching you guys and praying for all of us. Take care.
Thank you for sending that in, Sarah, and all views are welcome. If you want to leave a voicemail, 224-400-MARF. You guys are what makes this show, no matter what your background, no matter what your views are. If you're here, you're part of the fam. So with that, actually, I thought that was a very interesting point. So people have talked about deagle. If you don't know about deagle, I did a video on deagle back in 2021 or something like that. Edwin J. Deagle perished, but he was what presidents called him the Einstein of statistics. He actually was in 5 different administrations consulting for 5 different presidents, and that's because he was, before you could do certain simulations with AI and run all of these different kind of factors out, you would have somebody like Edwin J. Deagle actually take data from all over the world, compile it, and give their best guess. Just as insurance adjuster or insurance, predictors predict like, oh, this area in the next 10 years will have fires. He would predict events, civil conflicts, wars based on the actual events. And he was very good at it. He stated in 2025 that the U.S., on his numbers, it showed this dramatic drop exactly by 2025 that we would lose at the time. It was when he was still alive and it was up. It was like 375 million or whatever it was, and it was going to go down by 2/3. So it had us at the very end with about 100 million people left. What was so odd is that almost all of the allies, like she said, were all down too. A lot of people thought that was just some sort of theory site, tinfoil hat site. Edwin J. Deagle and the information he used was very real. Like that's the craziest part about it. And that's why so many people have talked about it. It's probably why you've heard about it. But many people just assume that website was run by a couple people in their basement or something. Edwin J. Deagle, before he died, did that. It showed all of the enemies, all of our China, India, all of these places. Some of them had gained population, but most of them stayed around the same. So what kind of event would have like that? Also, if it was a conflict, that's one, if you look at it as a conflict, then you would have huge losses in other countries too, unless somebody surprise attacks us and it's done before we know it. But again, that was highly unlikely. Now covering the last week of stories with all the space stuff, and now they're talking about how mutually assured destruction isn't even good anymore. Because of advantages that other people have in space and could just hit us right away, then who knows? But what do you guys think? Tell me what you think, again, down below. And thank you, Sarah, for the, of course, the message. I appreciate that. 224-400-MARF. Remember, you can call anytime, 24/7. If you have an opinion on some of these stories, if you have your angle, leave your message or in a comment down below. By the way, so many awesome people have come in tonight. It's great seeing some old faces, too, from 5 years ago, 6 years ago coming in. Thank you again. Some that haven't been here in a while and now are back. Well, watching and waiting, thank you. Lord, thank you. Carlton Sutton, Jonathan Fish, Thomas, thank you. Trina Roque, thank you. And so many more. I wish I had people on DLive to thank, but unfortunately, that restream issue has reared its ugly head. So we're looking for alternatives. What I really miss is the fact that we now can't restream to X as well. The X was actually bringing in quite a number of really awesome people. So we'll see. Thank you, Dex, for your service tonight. I appreciate you. Oh, and I'm so sorry about that, Dex. I turned off the message and it turned you off. Dex, are you there?
Yeah, I didn't hear myself. But yeah, I'm here. I was just saying much love and great job.
And we, of course, covered, you guys got to go over to Marfoogle News. We covered, of course, a lot of this throughout the show. The Russian mercenary carrying the drones opening up. Like, this is extremely, extremely freaky stuff. So that drone story is a huge story. Share that video. If you're going to share one of the two, don't share the 2-hour live show. Share the short video over on news, because that was less than 10 minutes. It will get across. It might even have a family member that you've been trying to get prepped. Get them prepped. So that's the video to share with somebody. I hope that message gets around far and wide, because right now I think that the U.S. is in trouble, and I sure hope I'm wrong. Again, that U.S. Border Patrol catching Russian mercenaries with drones coming over, very, very odd at a time where DJI just opened up the air. So we'll see. And then, of course, if you guys haven't already, make sure to go check out Bug Out. Last recommendation of the day. This is one of the beefiest solar generators on the market. It is, again, you can go look at however many dozens are out there, or hundreds. This is the one that we recommend for high capacity, 6,000 watt peak, 3,000 continuous. This thing is a beast. The Bug Out, of course, the grid down Bug Out, it actually has 1.69 kilowatt hours built in. And then you can get the XPs, which have additional power. If you just get one XP, you'll have a total of 4,000, almost 4,300 kilowatt hours of power. And of course, if you get the 2 XP unit combo, you will have almost 7,000 kilowatt hours to work with. They also make the walls, so if you're trying to outfit a whole house, again, that's there as well. If you get anything beyond the regular unit and one of the XPs, you are actually going to apply you can possibly get that tax rebate of up to 30% of it. That's a huge, huge, huge savings. A lot of people justify that for going up to the next level. All right. Thank you, guys, and thank you so much for being here. Everybody, I hope that you have a wonderful night. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. Dex, thank you so much for your service today.
Much love. Great job, brother.
And Carlton Sutton, thank you. Lord McCormick, thank you. Watching and Waiting, thank you. Jonathan Fish, thank you. And Thomas, thank you. Appreciate all of the support. You guys have a wonderful night. Be safe, be prepared. Marf out. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. Thank you, Kim D. Kim, thank you for subscribing. Watching and Waiting, thank you for becoming a member. Appreciate that as well. Dravid80, thank you for subscribing. Sweet Caroline, thank you for subscribing. Not Your Kind, about 38 minutes ago, thank you for subscribing. Budget Outdoor, thank you for subscribing. We're going to be heading over to Jams, where I say thank you to the top supporters in a very silly and sometimes unsatisfactory way.